Have you heard of the blobfish? The animal that earned the infamous title of ugliest in the world? What you might not know is that this bizarre creature only looks so strange for a surprising reason. And, in fact, it may be much more of a victim than the monster we paint it to be. What makes the blobfish transform into something so peculiar outside of its habitat? The answer will change your perception of it, and possibly how we understand the concept of beauty in the animal kingdom. Blobfish. The ugliest animal in the world or the most unjustly treated. A tale of depths, pressure, and misconceptions. Imagine a world where sunlight never reaches, where pressure is overwhelming and life pulsates in shapes and colors we've never witnessed. In this inhospitable and mysterious environment, 1,200 meters below the surface, lives one of the planet's most misunderstood animals, the blobfish. However, when it emerges from the abyss, what we see here on the surface is a caricature of its true nature. Dubbed the ugliest animal in the world in 2013, the blobfish has ascended to meme status, a symbol of strangeness, and even a cultural icon. But is the title fair? Or is it, in fact, a victim of our limited view of beauty? The emergence of the blobfish in the modern world. In 2003, a scientific expedition to the depths of New Zealand's ocean made a discovery that would forever change the life of a small and peculiar inhabitant of the deep. Carrie Parkinson, at the time a young researcher at the beginning of her career, was part of the team. Her mission: to take photos of anything strange, uncertain, or difficult to classify that appeared in the researchers' nets. When the blobfish was brought up from the depths and captured by Carrie's camera lens, no one imagined it would become a global celebrity. In the depths of the ocean, the fish appeared to be just another inhabitant of the seabed. But when brought to the surface, something surprising happened. The fish transformed. Its skin wrinkled, its flabby and soft body sank, and it took on a drooping appearance, with a face that, to many, looked incredibly human. A human who wasn't having their best day, to say the least. This unusual appearance caught the world's attention, and quickly the photo of the blobfish began to circulate. It was nicknamed Mr. Blobby, in homage to a famous British TV character known for its strangeness. The fish became a meme and started appearing on t-shirts, stuffed toys, and became an internet icon in the early 2010s. The consecration. The ugliest animal in the world. Years after its discovery, the blobfish reached an important milestone in its path to fame. In 2013, it was voted the ugliest animal in the world by the Ugly Animal Preservation Society, an organization with a rather unique purpose. Founded by British comedian Simon Watt, the organization aimed to use humor to promote a serious cause: the conservation of species that, because they aren't cute in the eyes of humans, are often neglected. We have nothing against pandas, but they already have their defenders, Simon Watt said during the awards ceremony. We need to protect the less charismatic species as well. If we only focus on the cute animals, we're losing sight of what's really important in terms of biodiversity. And so, the blobfish earned its title of champion of ugliness, outshining a series of other equally intriguing candidates. But did it really deserve that label? The injustice of appearance. A fish out of its habitat. Despite its fame as the ugliest animal in the world, the truth is that the blobfish isn't naturally that strange. At least not in its natural habitat. The depths of the ocean are a place of extremes. The pressure is 100 times greater than what we feel here on the surface, and the darkness is absolute. In this environment, the blobfish lives comfortably with a series of evolutionary adaptations that help it survive where other beings cannot. Its soft and spongy body, for example, is one of those adaptations. Instead of having rigid bones and strong muscles like the fish we know, the blobfish has a much more flexible and gelatinous structure. This allows it to withstand the crushing pressure of the depths, which would deform it if it had a more rigid body. When the blobfish is brought to the surface, where the pressure is much lower, its body expands, its skin relaxes, and it takes on that peculiar appearance that made it famous. Moreover, unlike most fish, the blobfish doesn't have a swim bladder, an organ that most fish use to control their buoyancy. Instead, it relies on its body composition, rich in fat, to stay slightly less dense than the surrounding water. This adaptation allows it to float smoothly in the depths of the ocean, conserving energy while waiting for prey to drift into its mouth. A true master of energy conservation, the blobfish basically eats anything that floats by, ranging from crustaceans and starfish to, curiously, fragments of human garbage like plastic bags. An unknown and underestimated animal. The truth is we know very little about the blobfish. Despite all the attention it has received as an icon of ugliness, its natural behavior and interactions in the ecosystem are still largely unknown. This is partly due to the difficulty of studying creatures that live at such extreme depths, where the conditions are nearly impossible to replicate in a laboratory. The blobfish is rarely seen, and when it is accidentally caught by deep-sea fishermen, it is usually alone. We don't know much about how it reproduces, whether it lives in groups, or what its lifespan is. What we do know is that it isn't a commercially valuable species, as its flesh, due to its gelatinous composition, is not appreciated in cuisine. Well, except for one curious case. In 2019, a fisherman in Sydney decided to try it and reported that the flavor was surprisingly good. However, the biggest threat to the blobfish today is not fishing. The real danger it faces comes from climate change and the warming of ocean waters. As ocean temperatures rise, the habitats of these abyssal creatures are deeply affected, altering the chemistry and conditions that make their survival possible. Unfortunately, as with so many species that inhabit the depths, the blobfish may be facing a silent crisis, invisible to our eyes. Beauty and ugliness. A matter of perspective? The story of the blobfish prompts us to reflect on the concept of beauty and how our perception is limited by context. Beauty, after all, is a cultural construct, something we shape from our experiences and social norms. To us, here on the surface, the blobfish may seem ugly, but that's because we see it outside its element. In its world, it is perfectly adapted, an example of evolution that has allowed it to thrive in one of the planet's most extreme environments. If we were to visit the blobfish's world, we would be crushed by the pressure in seconds. Our bodies, adapted to the lightness of the Earth's atmosphere, would not withstand the weight of tons of water pressing down on every inch of those who live in the depths. In other words, if we tried to switch places with the blobfish, we would be the ones deformed, turned into a shapeless mass under the ocean's weight. Perhaps, in the eyes of the blobfish, we would be the ugly ones. The blobfish's election as the ugliest animal in the world also reminds us that appearances can be deceiving. What we judge based on our limited perspective often doesn't reflect the complex reality of wildlife. By labeling the blobfish as ugly, we are, in a way, perpetuating a kind of ecological bullying, a form of prejudice against creatures that don't meet our standards of beauty. A lesson for the future. The story of the blobfish also offers us an important lesson about biodiversity conservation. As Simon Watt pointed out, we often focus our preservation efforts on charismatic species, which have popular and emotional appeal. Pandas, tigers, and elephants, for example, receive a large share of resources and attention from conservation campaigns. And while these species are indeed worthy of protection, they are not the only ones facing extinction. The blobfish and other visually less appreciated creatures also play essential roles in their ecosystems. Their existence helps maintain the balance of food chains and the health of the oceans. Ignoring these at-risk species is a recipe for ecological disaster, as the loss of biodiversity affects all of us, directly or indirectly. So, the next time we look at the blobfish, perhaps it's best to pause before judging. Instead of seeing it as the ugliest animal in the world, we can view it as a remarkable example of nature's ingenuity, a creature adapted to a world we can barely imagine. And who knows, maybe the blobfish has much more to teach us about what truly matters: the preservation of life in all its forms, even those that challenge our idea of beauty. After all, in the depths of the sea, where light doesn't reach and pressure crushes, ugliness may just be a matter of perspective. If you enjoyed this, please share, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Thank you very much for watching.